Good evening and welcome to 𝗤𝙗𝙗 and welcome to the first joint show between 𝗤𝙗𝙗 and 𝗣𝗚𝘂𝘗. And we're going to discuss Khalistan outside India. And for this discussion, I have with me Mr. Sree Iyer. Mr. Sree Iyer, good evening and welcome to 𝗤𝙗𝙗 and 𝗣𝗚𝘂𝘗, the common channel which we are now trying to put across.
Namaskar, sir. Thank you. And it's been a while since we've shared the same platform, and it's an honor and pleasure to be on your platform. And viewers, please support 𝗤𝙗𝙗 channel of General Ravi Shankar, and you've been a great supporter of 𝗣𝗚𝘂𝘗𝘗. I think he's doing fantastic work, and today's topic is very important in the context of what is happening in the geopolitics. And I want to start out by saying my deep humble respects to everyone who's protecting their country. Doesn't matter which country, they lay down their lives for us, and we don't appreciate them enough for their gesture. Here is a humble naman to all of you, soldiers, sisters, brothers. Now everybody, we have women and men in the armed forces, and my humble respect to all of you. Things are going to be difficult. Sir, one thing that I want to first set out in this topic is that we have a lot of Sikh brothers and sisters in our armed forces, whether it is Air Force or Navy or Army or even Marines, and we want to always emphasize that this movement of a small motley crowd should not reflect upon the rest of the community. The Sikh community, which I consider as a Veer Sikhs, Veer Hindus, who had our back. If it was not for them, India would have been Islamized a long time ago. So this thing has to be always kept in mind. Today's discussion is this ongoing thing where it is like a Bunsen burner. Sometimes it's in sim, sometimes it is in low, sometimes it is in medium, sometimes it is in high. Who is doing this setting? Where exactly did it start? All this is what we are going to discuss. General Ravi Shankar, sir, I would like to start out by requesting you to summarize how you as an army man have seen this, because you've dealt with this in various capacities. So take it away, sir, your experiences.
Yeah, look, I've been, I wouldn't say part of the problem, but I know this problem right from its inception days, from my young days. In fact, 91, 92, I was deployed there in Punjab at the height of the Sikh, the Khalistan movement. We conducted the first elections. It was very difficult conditions, a lot of violence, a lot of action, and a lot of operations. In fact, I got my first army commander's appreciation there for an operation which I carried out those days. When you look at the entire Khalistan movement from then to now, what it was then, now it is zero actually. Even then, at that point of time, when Punjab was meant to be burning and everything, we spent a lot of time there. And I was a young major those days. I'm talking of 91, 92. Of course, things had started much before. I will not go into that. I found a lot of the common Sikh in the village, the common Sikh in the armed forces, everyone was actually for India. No one wanted Khalistan. And the reason why the Khalistan movement was rooted out from Punjab, I must put it on record, was not because of the army, not because of the police, not because of the government, because the people of Punjab wanted it thrown out. And the people of Punjab voted. It was a difficult election, right? But people did come forth and vote in 91, 92. Very few votes, but they did come. And it was because of that the political process started and the whole thing was rooted out. Right. So actually, it is a phase, and this entire Khalistan movement was, instigated by Pakistan. There was a political problem. There was no doubt about it. We had an internal political problem, like any other political problem in any other part of India. But Pakistan and 𝗤𝙗𝙗 seized on it and pumped it up to create this greater Khalistan kahani and all that. Then what happened that all these fellows who were pushed out and who ran away from here exfiltrated through Punjab and landed up through Punjab in Canada, USA, and UK, and the West generally, some in Europe also. And soon after that, we also had that 85, that Kanishka bombing, a horrific bombing, which was masterminded in Canada. And we all know, everyone who's attending this will tell us uh, what kind of a affair it was and how Canada messed up the whole proceedings. After all, nearly 280 plus people who died in that aircraft were Canadian citizens, though they had this thing. I mean, it's very funny that Canada didn't cry about those 280 odd Canadian citizens then, and it's crying about one Canadian citizen now. It just shows many things. But then we'll get to that later. In India, first and foremost, there is no Khalistan movement. Let me be very frank. I have my friends who retired as army commanders, who retired, in very high positions, civil, army, everyone. No one wants Khalistan. That's the first thing. And how can you look at it, let's put the contribution of Sikhs into perspective. What they did during, the freedom struggle, all that is well documented. I don't have to say. I mean, just think. The man who turned India around economically was a Sikh. We had a Sikh president, right? Okay. We had a chief of army staff also who was a Sikh, right, at one point of time. Two Paramveer Chakra winners. One, there are more, but I'll talk of only two at this point of time. One in 62, Joginder Singh. So there's Joginder Singh. He won the Joginder top in Arunachal. When everyone was running away, this man was fighting. Come down to Siachen and Bana Top. Who doesn't know Bana Top and Naib Sardar Bana Singh? Now Honorary Captain Bana Singh, who single-handedly assaulted a Pakistani post and brought that. And because of that action, Siachen is still with us. Right? So there's a whole lot of things. Who can forget Flying Sikh, Milkha Singh? Right? He's a guy whom we grew up with. Okay. So when you look at this kind of a nonsense, okay, and what this whole story has happened in the past, say 1-2 months, is that there is some kind of a section in the Western society who is trying to fan this, or rather, I wouldn't say fan it. Maybe they're not. Fanning is not the thing. Who are trying to still be nice to this whole lot, which I think is horrible, right? I have very good friends. I've commanded Sikh troops, and some of the best troops to command. Let me tell you this. I mean, you have to control them. Okay, they're very. They have their own thing. Like every troops have their thing, but they're fantastic. Okay, and they'll take care of you like you are God. If you're an officer with Sikh troops, you are their God virtually, and all you have to do is prove yourself to them, which I did. And after that, it was all bale bale. And so I have a tremendous amount of respect for Sikhs. Just the other day, I was speaking to uh, one of my immediate seniors who's been an army commander, and we did a show on Punjab on Gunner Shot. And we did mention that this is just now, it is more externally instigated than internally instigated. So the first thing I would like to tell anyone who's, uh, I know a lot of people, watch P Gurus abroad. Okay. The first message I want to give to them is Sikhs are probably some of the guys who are most respected in India. Let me give one other thing. Who, without Green Revolution, which happened those days, and it was largely in Punjab, we couldn't have been a net food exporter internationally today. I can go on and on and on about how Sikhs have contributed, and they're held in very high esteem. And Sikhs have a complete two infantry regiments for them, the Sikh regiment and the Sikh-𝗲𝗍 regiment. Artillery, we have 13 regiments which are purely of Sikhs. So does engineers also have a whole lot of things. So I mean, to say that you cannot identify a Sikh with this Khalistani movement, which is happening abroad. It's not here. And they're trying to instigate everything from there. That's the stupidity. I mean, so I think we have to differentiate between this. This is something which is happening abroad and not anything, not anywhere related to India. ठीक एक बात और मैं बताना चाहता हूँ क्योंकि ये मैं जो गन शॉट चलाता हूँ हिंदी में भी बात करता हूँ इंग्लिश में भी बात करता हूँ
बहुत
तो
खूब सर।
मैं ये स्पष्ट करना चाहता हूँ स्पष्ट ये क्लैरिफाई करना चाहता हूँ कि खालिस्तान का मूवमेंट जो है इंडिया में बिल्कुल नहीं है जो भी हो रहा है ये बावला बाहर हो रहा है ठीक तो ये है हमारा प्रस्ताव आप सवाल पूछिए हम इसके बारे में हम जो भी हम बता सकते हैं हम बताएंगे और मेरे को क्लियर है ये जो खालिस्तान ये जो कनाडा में जो हुआ एक क्रेडिबल एलिगेशन का कहानी इसके बारे में भी मैंने 5-6 वीडियो जारी किया है गनर शॉट में आप देख सकते हो और वो भी बहुत हमारे जो एक्सपर्ट्स हैं उनके साथ मैंने जारी किया है और जो पहले बार हमारा गनर शॉट का ये देख रहे हैं श्री जी ने तो बोल दिया कि गनर शॉट देखिए वगैरह वगैरह मैं 1 मिनट में बताना चाहता हूँ कि गनर शॉट इज अ स्ट्रेटेजिक एंड डिफेंसिव channel. I focus only on strategic affairs. And when I handle a subject, मैं उसके बिल्कुल डेप्थ में जाता हूँ उदाहरण के तौर पर अभी आजकल हमास का ये चल रहा है इजराइल हमास का ऑलरेडी मैं एक सिर्फ आपको बताना चाहता हूँ 8 वीडियो कर दिया मैंने इसका अभी 13 दिन हुए मैंने 8 वीडियो कर दिया कल मैंने एक इंटरनेशनल सेमिनार वेबिनार भी किया हमारे इसमें तो आपको ये सब मिलेंगे आप और इंक्लूडिंग फोर्स कमांडर ऑफ यूनिफिल who was in Golan Heights he's actually my course mate so I go into depth and I've gone into the depth of this Khalistan affair with about 5-6 videos you can have a look at it so with this kind of a background आप जो भी सवाल पूछना चाहते हैं and you can take it forward Sree ji.
Thank you so much. And to complement what General Ravi Shankar said, this is an initiative that P Gurus is trying out, wherein things that are of interest, for example, like the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict, we hope to bring many of these things live, where General Ravi Shankar might be hosting it. I may or may not be present. It depends upon the time of the day, because I live in US 12 and a half hours, soon to be 13 and a half hours behind India. So there is going to be some chemistry here, and I just want our viewers to know, those of you who are already subscribed to P Gurus, do also subscribe to Gunner Shot. Like General Saab said, पूरी गहराई जाकर देखने वाले हैं जो भी टॉपिक लेंगे उसकी पूरी जितनी गहराई है वहां तक जाकर आएंगे क्योंकि हम सबको ये चीज बहुत जानना जरूरी है आप अगर टीवी में देखेंगे तो 2 मिनट में कोई एक यहां से ताना मारेगा वहां से वापस कुछ ताना आएगा इसमें आपको ज्ञान बढ़ेगा नहीं दैट इज द होल आइडिया ऑफ Gunner Shot, P Gurus, and a few other channels. Isliye, this is a new initiative for us, and please do encourage us because we love your comments, we love your feedback, and we're going to go forward with this discussion. And I'm going to draw
1 minute. One minute. When I say Gehrai and the kind of expertise I bring in, I just want to put across who are the guys. If you see the Israel-Palestine war was conducted we had a discussion with Lieutenant General Chauhan, who has also been the DG Assam Rifles and who served in Gaza area. Then the learning from the Israel-Hamas war was conducted with General Satish Dua, who's been the Chief of Integrated Defense Staff in India. And he's a regular in most channels, but we have an equation and we went into great depths of all this. In fact, just after this, I'm going to go and speak most of these things which I've spoken here on Sanjay Dixit's channel on Jaipur Dialogue. Then you see the center one with General Iqbal Singha, who was the commander of the Andof in Golan Heights, and he spent 3 years there. Then, of course, General Raj Shukla. Today, he was the Army commander of Army Training Command. and today he's a member of the UPSC. And on the left bottom, you see General Atta Hasnain, with whom I had a great discussion. And General Atta Hasnain is today the member of the National Disaster Management Authority, and he's widely traveled, and he's a well-known personality. And of course, the webinar I had was with General Atta Hasnain, Ambassador 𝗤𝙗𝘄𝑔𝙗𝑛𝑖, and Dr. Michael Rubin, which I moderated. You can have a look at it. Why I'm saying this is, it's not that I'm trying to say, but each of these subjects, we go into details, and like what Mr. Sree Iyer said, वो arrangement करेंगे so that everyone in P Gurus also gets this, gyan which we generate, right? We'll make this arrangement. It's not a big deal. If we can be together on a show together with where all of us, everyone is seeing, we'll do the other ones also.
Yes, indeed. General Ravi Shankar, today we read in the newspapers that the Navratri celebrations in a Hindu temple in Surrey, Canada, were disrupted by Khalistanis. This has been happening for the last couple of years, General Ravi Shankar. Even here, when we have Independence Day floats, for example, they used to do it like they would stand in one corner, there'll be protests, you will just calmly walk by. That used to be the modus operandi. Lately, there has been active intervention, active methods to try and disrupt this thing. So this is where somebody is crossing a line. Unfortunately, in the garb of freedom of speech, a lot of leeway is being given. I've had my discussions with the US government officials also. I said, this freedom of speech has some responsibilities. There are some consequences. And you saw that in the form of Harvard University, doing something nasty, and the students who didn't probably even know that their organizations have put out this release are now facing the wrath. So what I wanted to ask you, General Ravi Shankar, is this new active disruption, is it Khalistani's way of trying to rise above this noise of Israel conflict and try to keep the Khalistan context also in the eyes of the viewing public? Is it just a publicity stunt, or is this going to continue? What are your thoughts, sir?
Oh, this is not a publicity stunt, because they've been doing this for quite some time. They've upped the ante because they've got some recognition from the Canadian government. Right, the Canadian government, definitely, if I look at what Canada has done, UK has done, USA has done, I think Canada has given them too much leeway. And the point is, the Canadian government has to realize at some point of time that it's okay to say freedom of speech. It's okay to give, we are an open society, we are a rule-based order, and X, Y, Z. Okay, but when you give shelter to these guys who are basically terrorists, I call them terrorists. They're not militants. They're not freedom fighters. They're terrorists. And you give them leeway to incite rebellion or secession in another country, which is supposed to be a democratic partner, right? You're doing something funny. Okay, forget the Canadian government. You're doing harm to yourself, because tomorrow this is something which is going to kill you. They're creating a problem for themselves. They're seeding a problem for themselves for tomorrow. Because these fellows, definitely, when they come to India, we'll sort them out. On that, there's no doubt. And I don't have to sort them out. The Punjabis and the Sikhs will sort them out. They'll not grow. And these types are criminals and terrorists, and we'll treat them as such. Right. On that, there is no two ways about it. But if you don't take the sensitivity of the Indian government, and you don't take what Indian government is saying in the garb of free speech, you're harboring criminals in your area. Right? Tomorrow, you're going to have law and order problems within your area. If you're so fond of it, give Khalistan within them. Call one state or one province in Canada as Khalistan and give it to them. Let them do what they want. Why trouble us? That's the way I look at it. And if you today say you're a rule-based society and rule-based order you are looking at, they can't put up posters to say kill Indians. They can't put up posters to say Khalistan is required in India. They can't go and start disrupting others' religious functions. It doesn't. Today they could do it for Navratri. Tomorrow they'll do it for anything else, right? And just for petty politics of survival, Mr. Trudeau is doing all this nonsense. I think he's a very immature prime minister who's harming his own country. I mean, I don't mind putting it absolutely in no uncertain terms. He doesn't know. He's just about 40 odd. The day a gang war takes place within these Khalistani factions, I'm sure there are Khalistani factions within this lot there. Then he'll know the live problems he's going to face. And if this goes up, then he is going to have problems. Because as we know that the New Democratic Party, which is there in Canada, has a vote bank, has a vote share, and it is going to finger the politics of Canada. It is up to the Canadians to realize whether they want to give shelter to such chaps or not. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And see, viewers, this is, this movement of a few disgruntled elements, it is being given water. If you think of it as a plant, this is being watered by various entities. At one point of time, ISI definitely created it, like the General Ravi Shankar said, the General 𝙒𝙑𝙀𝘀𝘀𝘀, death by 1,000 cuts policy. He started the K2 desk, Kashmir and Khalistan, and that's where it started growing. From there, a lot of things have happened. The initial stage, intelligence agencies were not really cooperating with India until the Kanishka bombing. I think 323 people died in total, sir. 321 on that one plane, and 2 who were baggage handlers in the Narita airport. The people who had
Narita airport, yes.
Yeah. The people who had,
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I mean, and the way Canada botched up that whole thing is not funny. I mean, that's open record.
Yes.
Right.
And it took...
Yeah, please go ahead.
So it took 20 years before they had a judicial report on the 1985 bombings, and that was by a retired judge, John Major, and that is available on on Google. You can go and look at it. Kanishka bombing and what happened, what actions need to be taken, and so on. Nothing of that sort happened. Finally, you have the 2 plotters. They're both now, I think they have both met their maker, and they have become some sort of martyrs. I mean, these are people who killed Canadian citizens. These are Sikh brothers and sisters. Also, General Ravi Shankar, a few, I think maybe 100 or so, or maybe even less than that, actually crossed over from US into Canada to take this flight, because it's on the border of states like Michigan.
I understand.
Yeah. So some Americans also died in this. My point in saying all this is 2 countries who lost their citizens, and yet US has done almost nothing to do to help, at least in the Khalistan thing that I know of. Now the challenge is, you have this noisemaker. He's a dual citizen of Canada and United States, and he says death to all Hindus. This is the reason why I'm wearing a sacred ass shirt. I want to try and tell them, look, you cannot just wish somebody death just like that. He has broadened the scope, so to say. Go ahead, sir.
No, what you're saying is right. Let me put this thing in context. When you go back to the 90s, right? Ideologically or geopolitically, the US was definitely not with us. They were against us. In fact, the entire West was against us. They were actually behind Pakistan in those days. Pakistan was their favorite, child. In that context, it is understandable that all these Sikhs who were pushed out from Pakistan got, refuge there. And they were facilitated to live happily ever after there. Let them live happily ever after. But today things have changed. The Canadian government and the US government have to be sensitive towards us. From 2000 to now, the partnership with India is supposed to be a strategic partnership. If it is a strategic partnership, those people who are speaking against us, sitting in your country, have to be taken care of. And who are inciting secession in our country. It is just not saying, no, they're those people, are rebels and, people who have a different opinion and all. They're not simple guys. Look, I'm a guy who has responded to situations where people have just been blown off, and then you're going on in a market where a cycle bomb has blown off. Like, and I'm talking of 91, 92. And thereafter, you're picking up limbs and, shattered bodies on the floor. You don't even know who they are. And at the end of the day, you don't even know how many people died. You come to know only because the relatives say, "Look, my chap is missing," and then you start identifying bodies from pieces. It's a horrific thing. If something like this happens tomorrow in USA and Canada, I mean, I wouldn't like it to happen, but the way things are going, unless something like this happens there, they will also not realize the gravity of the situation, and they also have to change. That's the point, right? They can't. You can't say freedom of religion is only for one particular sect or community. It is for everyone. It's a law and order and also civic problem, which they must attend to. I mean, this is my proposition.
Yes, indeed, sir. I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, I have been very disappointed with the United States, FBI, as well as the San Francisco Police Department, in their tardiness in solving the crime of who set fire to the Indian consulate building. See, on July 2nd, if I remember correctly, General Ravi Shankar, what happened was there was like, any place you have a building, you have a small carpet to walk before you get into the building. So a couple of Khalistani in double quotes, miscreants, they set some sort of a fire accelerant, they sprayed it on the carpet, and then they set fire to it. I know it was not meant to go and burn the building down, but it is a symbolic thing. They took a video of that, and they were proudly proclaiming, all the slogans that go with it. And till today, I have no clue whether they have been caught or not. And these people may or may not have realized, but this is actually Indian government's property. A consulate building is the property of the country of which the consulate belongs to. And basically what they are doing is they are setting fire to the country of birth for them.
Yes.
And
yeah, look,
sir, go ahead.
Whether it's a country of birth or not is irrelevant to them, because today, as far as I'm concerned, the Khalistanis are virtually the enemies of India, right? If the enemies of India are being given, shelter in each of these countries, right, in the West, because of their laws, legal issues, and all that, well, tomorrow the same thing can happen here. Then, do we go on this pro quid quo as strategic partners? That's the issue. Right?
Very true.
I mean, I see, and let me put this, one comment which has come. He says, have you checked how some American YouTubers are covering the one-sided narrative of this India-Canada issue over the death of a Khalistani? I completely agree with him. Because we have not, of course, the fact is that we have also not sold our narrative well. We have not also stated our case well. Nor has USA taken this case seriously. But I think after this, there would be some logic coming into this whole madness. And there would be someone who will say, look, it's time to, call things out and stabilize equations. And that's the sense, actually, I got from some of my friends also, that, look, they come into a new situation. They're talking to a new India who's not backing down. 5 years back, 10 years back, we probably would back down, right? We did, but today it's not going to happen. And as India's geopolitical importance keeps rising, I think these issues will automatically get, the right address they deserve, or the right, importance they deserve, and things will even out. But the thing in USA, I think it'll even out. Even I think to a large extent it'll even out in UK also. But I'm worried about Canada, to be very honest. It's Canada which is the weak link in this whole thing. And because the government supports on the new Democratic Party, which has got deep roots with the Sikhs for justice, that we will have problems in future.
Yes, sir. And Today, if you look at what is happening in the Canadian politics, Justin Trudeau is reliant on NDP, the National Democratic Party, which is based out of mostly on the state of Vancouver, and that's where they have the most number of seats and representation. And they basically Jagmeet Singh Dhaliwal, he tends to omit his last name Dhaliwal because there are, like you
Dhaliwal.
said, sir, there are two gangs, two big gangster gangs there. And one, the leader's name is also Jagmeet Singh Dhaliwal.
Okay.
So he wants to not be identified with the other Dhaliwal, same name, right? That's why this guy calls himself Jagmeet Singh. And interestingly, he has some relative, another Dhaliwal, Sukhi Dhaliwal, if I remember correctly, maybe related or not, maybe from the same village only. That person has been frequently associated with taking trips to Pakistan and meeting with these two people who are allegedly ISI operatives working out of Canada, Rahat Rao and one other name, I don't remember that. And see, the point I'm trying to make, sir, is NDP. If the news comes out that NDP has active collusion with entities such as the ISI, will then the Canadian people react to it? Or what is it going to take for Canadian average Joe on the street to understand this NDP, the way it is going, is not good for them?
Well, I think there has to be a terrorist incident instigated by these chaps for their ends in Canada to happen. Because most of them will respond to only a crisis which is within their country. Look, for them, India is far away. They're not bothered. Okay. And India is a place where they get labor from. That's the mindset they've always had. But they don't perceive, the average Joe in Canada will not perceive that India is a changed entity, right? The working individual from here, more than that, the number of people who are going to Canada are going for higher studies and are of the higher order of society. That whole value chain is shifting up. So that is something which I don't know whether the average Joe, I'm talking the average Joe, understands it. When you go to the west coast of USA where you live, that understanding is there, but not in probably not there in Canada. So when this NDP and this SFJ, this gang, and there's a inter-gang warfare going on, there's also a drug warfare drug mafia running out there. I have no doubt about it, because I saw that running here in India, not now, 20 years back. I'm not even talking 20 years back. I'm talking 91, 92. I'm talking 32 years back. We used to even catch drugs in Punjab those days. Okay. And the fact that China is also home to Chinese police stations, and the Chinese have interfered in their elections. When this outside interference, or deemed to be outside interference, happens from people from there, they'll come to know what the problem is. On that, I have never not had a doubt about. I don't have a doubt. It's a matter of time.
Sir, we are trying to proactively head that off, isn't it? I mean, you don't want innocents to die.
I don't know whether the government will respond. This current Canadian government will respond, because he's in a survival mode. He'll not respond. Even today, he's done something. He's gone and cribbed around. In the past 1 week, he's cribbed around to everyone in the Middle East about the Indian government. He's not let go, right? That's what I was just reading just before I came to our broadcast. That his foreign minister has also spoken. Unless we have to hold, ward them off. Ward them off, we have to give it back to them in their own coin. And now that we have said, you decrease your diplomatic staff in Delhi and get it to parity. So we'll talk of parity, and then everything will fall in place. But what happens in Canada? How do you do? It's the Indians in Canada who have to rise to this situation. It is the Sikhs in Canada who have to rise to the situation, right? And it is up to the people in USA also to put sense that side.
Yes.
Yeah, unless they stand up, look, I started this program by saying the Khalistani problem in Punjab was not solved by the Indian Army, the Indian government of India, the government of Punjab, or the Punjab police. We were all enablers to the people of Punjab. Let me tell you, I can tell it with a very clear heart and absolute clear mind also. It was the people of Punjab, right? So when the people of Punjab decided that there will be no, I'll give you a small example, a personal example. You know, there's this place called 𝗣𝗚𝗅𝗏, and this is where my unit was deployed on those days. And 𝗣𝗚𝗅𝗏 was quite notorious in the sense that a lot of these terrorists had taken shelter in that, Gurdwara. And it's a very famous Gurdwara. All Sikhs will know. It was, one of those Gurdwaras where Guru Gobind's, two sons were killed and plastered into the wall by the Mughals. And that Gurdwara has got tremendous value in amongst Sikhs. And this was virtually, all these terrorists were taken into that. There's an annual Jod Mela. In this Jod Mela, all these terrorist groups used to come and, give their pravachan and all that. So what I used to do, I mean, this was in our area, and the Jod Mela, invariably, there were problems, and about 8 to 10 people used to get killed, etc., etc., etc. So when I was made in charge of giving security to this area, the Punjab government and the people, the policemen, the police law, had put in a lot of effort and this and that and all that, and a lot of problems. Of course, the army, I was a pointsman for the army. The army also gave me full backing. My commanding officer and my brigade commander were behind me. So I went and spoke to people. I spoke to people. I spoke to village headmen. I spoke to the Granthi of the thing. I spoke to the guy who, is in the district court who does typing, for notaries and things like that. And I spoke to people. About 15 days, I kept speaking to people. And I said, look, who are you killing? You're killing each other. Is it fair? Why don't you have a good Jod Mela where, women come and, can go, and it's a huge thing there. They responded. They said, "Sir, Major Saab, इस साल आपको एक भी किस्सा नहीं मिलेगा." And it happened. That year there was nothing. Zero. And of course, thereafter the elections took place and things. So it's the people who have to do it. Similarly, it's the people in Canada who have to be made to realize this. How to do it is a different story. Whether Indian government will be able to do it, or people residing in Canada have to do it, or Indian associations have to do it, or make it a political issue. These are the issues which we have to do. Unless you do this problem will continue.
Yes, indeed. And I think we have given a very proactive suggestion. The Hindus in Canada, the Sikhs in Canada, it's up to you. We are here to help you. We'll be happy to bring some of you on our channels and have listen to your viewpoints also. It's very valid. And that is where I think we would like to, I'm done from my side for this session, sir. If there are any questions on your channel, I can't see anything. So feel free, sir.
No, I'll put out. There are a lot of questions which have come up, and some super stickers and all. We'll just flash them and we'll go over them. We have some time, right? And I would like to tell you, just for your information, tomorrow I'm going to do a program on CPEC and CPEC in the light of BRI Forum, and that you'll find, General KJ Singh, who's a Sardar, and who's been a Western Army commander, speaking on it. So all of you want to join in at 8 o'clock in the evening. Why I'm saying this is, here, Sardars are held in the highest esteem. It's up to Sardars there to rise there and, be held in the same esteem. It's not as if there are not enough Sardars in USA who are not grown up. I think Nikki Haley is from Punjab, basically.
Yes. She's a Sardarni.
A Sardarni. And you have, I think, Randhawa or someone who owns a chain of hotels, I'm forgetting his name.
Oh, there are many rich Sikh farmers, sir. Lots of
all these people have to. All these people, all these people have to, go across and put it in the language they understand. It is not for us to do it, right? So fine. So I'll take some questions. Okay,
sir.
first, Tulankar says Indians, Hindus, Sikhs need to take action and treat them as terrorists. Doing this during festival is harassment. What freedom of speech is this? I completely agree with you. There's no two ways about it. There's not. It's not freedom of speech. It is not nothing. So I think I go with it completely. Your views on this, Sriji?
No, you're absolutely right, General Ravi Shankar. Like I said, viewers, I have been bringing this to the attention of the United States government authorities. There are actual official organizations, there are divisions that look at this very closely, and they coordinate with law and order agencies to make sure that such untoward incidents do not happen. And after we complained in the Bay Area, things have luckily have moved on smoothly. But now we are talking about a specific instance in Surrey in Canada, in Vancouver area. And that is where, the same kind of proactiveness needs to be shown by the Canadian government. But for that, the community needs to come together and tell them, look, these are all problems. We want to live in harmony. And this is not what we really want. So that needs to come from the community. That's all I can say, sir. Let's go to the next question, please.
Yeah, next question. A little obtuse, but he's an old fan of mine in Gunner Shot. He says USA, UK, Pakistan, Khalistan, Canada, Afghanistan, and all other Commonwealth countries are part of the British Empire even today, fed by Christian dollar. De-dollarization is necessary. First and foremost, Khalistan doesn't exist. It's only a matter of imagination. So Khalistan is not part of the Commonwealth by any stretch of imagination. So let's leave that out of the equation, right? Coming to de-dollarization is an economic issue. I don't think de-dollarization can be done, right? And if you do de-dollarization, you need to have an alternate. Unless you are saying that yuan is supposed to be the alternate, you can say, okay, we'll de-dollarize. But yuan, if you do de-dollarize in yuan, how will you take money out from China? Chinese want to take money out from China, and they're having a problem. And what do they want to do? They want to, go and buy houses in California or Malaysia or Singapore in dollars. Okay, so I don't see de-dollarization ever happening, to my way of looking at it. Your views, Sriji?
Yes, I agree with you, sir. This is not something that's going to happen in a day or two. And certainly the Chinese also realize that the world is not going to accept their yuan. So they try to do something called as the digital renminbi. These are all still pie in the sky ideas. Remember, in BRICS, India did not accept the proposal of China as to have a common currency for the BRICS. They said we will do bilateral. We don't want to do anything. And that is the right approach.
I completely agree with you. Digital renminbi and digital rupee में क्या फर्क है? UPI में क्या फर्क है? I don't know. I have digital rupee. I have UPI also. My wife uses Google Pay. I use Phone Pay. How does it matter? They're all the same. I think we are far ahead of the curve on this issue. Okay, ask Shankarji, what about the rise of Khalistan in AAP current tenure? Whether they support vis-a-vis for their personal goal? I don't think so. I don't think AAP is supporting Khalistan. And whatever you might say of the AAP, that party is quite intelligent. Okay, they're not fools. They're not going to let Khalistanis into their lot and hope that they'll win the next election, right? Okay. Is this due to the deep war between US deep state factions? Your views,
thought provocateur. He's been on our channel also. Deep state is not a single person or a single entity. There are many people who have vested interests. And one of the things that people say always is inside the Department of State, that is the external affairs equivalent in the United States, there are 2 or 3 factions. There's a pro-Iran faction, there's a pro-Pakistan faction, there's a pro-US faction. And often it is the pro-US faction that loses out. I mean, you have somebody by the name of Vedant Patel from the Department of State, lecturing India. So it is intentional that the picking of that particular individual is intentional. So somebody is baiting India, right? So these things do happen, and there will be some skirmishes, but the most important thing that people need to understand is corporate America, which more or less runs the country, is with India because they need an alternative that they can have as opposed to what is happening in China. Because China has been, essentially pulling away people's properties. And they're saying this is all nationalized now. Xi is going back to Mao Zedong days. That is a bigger problem for them. And that is why, they're coming to India. As long as India keeps a very conducive environment for them, India will thrive in this. After all, remember, 1991 reforms resulted in India becoming a much more aspiring middle class. Today, you have so much, prosperity around you. In fact, people say that Bangalore has the highest number of cars in country now as a city. And if you bring all the cars on the road, nothing will move. It is that bad.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I focus on China. To all of you who are on P Gurus, I focus on China. My main scope of research is China, and I am very clear. China has gone into stagnation mode, and it will be in perpetual stagnation for the simple reason their population is declining. It will never recover, right? Their economy has grown, but the whole lot of non-productive areas of that economy, and that's not going to get back. Okay. And they've invested too much of their economy in something which I call dead economy, which is infrastructure and real estate and all that. So the alternate to the world for China is India. There's no other alternate. In sheer scope, size, and scale, it is only India. But the question before India, which I must admit and I must tell everyone, is that India can't be another China. And that is something the world has to realize. India has to be another India. Because if you do what China has done to prime pump the world economy, India will become useless very fast. We have to do it our way. Okay. I mean, many of you might not understand what I'm trying to say in this 2 minutes. For that, you'll have to get on to Ghana Shot. In fact,
Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing a 6-part series on China, the end of their 100-year marathon. 100-year marathon is a book written by Michael Pillsbury on China's gain to become a superpower. And I'm defying that, and I say that the 100-year marathon is finished. And I'm doing a 6-part series on that. The first part I did it the day I did it on demography. The Israel-Hamas war broke out. So I'm going to do that. I mean, if we can jointly broadcast it over both.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll work it out.
And we'll work it out. Okay. So I don't see that happening. Okay. I'll take this question from JP. He's, he watches all my shows. General Sir is right, and he's from Punjab, and he feels strongly about Punjab. And he asked me so many questions about Punjab that many times I don't answer him also. But this I will take. General Sir is right. In 1980s, 90s, Khalistan movement was defeated in Punjab mainly because on ground, centuries-old inseparable brotherhood between Punjabi Hindus and Sikhs was not broken in Punjab. See, this is the crux of what we are trying to convey today in our thing. Your view on this?
Sir, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, if you look at how the Sikh Panth actually started out, the first born male was usually the one who was initiated into Sikhism, and the others were all Hindus. And because of this interference by Pakistan, and for some reason, India did not wake up to the horrors and the possible, future consequences. This is what has happened. And I encourage all of you to read one book. It is available free, by the way, by a raw operative called B. Raman, Raman. And the title is Caoboys, Kaoboys. Because R.N. Kao, Rameshwarnath Kao, was the founder of the research and analysis wing. And this is a fantastic book because he is on the dot in terms of telling you what really happened in the last 50 years vis-a-vis the Khalistan movement or anything to do with ISI and the riots in Mumbai in 1993. Everything is covered in that book in a very clinical fashion. Wonderful, wonderful book. I mean, I can't put it down. This is just actually a spy's recollections of how things played out in India, but it's a beautifully written book. I encourage all of you to read it, because unless we read, we will not understand how things played out on that day on the ground. That's what he brings to us.
Yeah. The next question is Jai Hind, the West cares for its own interests but wants nations like Bharat to follow what they say. Isn't it hypocrisy? Is Bharat now heading towards a real independent foreign policy? Well, let me clarify this to you. We have never listened to the West. If you go into the history of our geopolitics, we were against the West. Look at the 71 war. The West sided with Pakistan, not with us. It was the Russians who sided, the Soviets who sided with us. I mean, we also have to make a differentiation between Russians and the Soviets. So it was the Russians, so the Soviets who sided us. Okay. Now, after that, we did the Pokhran blast and we were under sanctions. We carried out missile tests. We were under sanctions. As recently, when we bought,
S-400.
S-400, they wanted to put us under sanctions. Then some good sense came up and they said, no, we can't. We can't. They can't. Right? So, there is this fear amongst a whole lot of Indians because the West says something that we follow them. Let me put it, we don't follow the West. It's not our history. And the West knows that. You see, the difference between China and India is this. I mean, if you understand this difference, then you will see the future of the India-West relationship is going to be very strong. In the 90s, it was, or rather in the 70s, it was the Americans who went to China and said, let's carry out a rapprochement. And they accepted. China accepted whatever USA said. They went against the Soviet Union and helped break it also. Okay, now that happened. And the West was fooled by China and taken for a royal ride for over 25 years. Right? They kept sucking the West out of intellectual property rights and the finances and made itself rich. It didn't bother what the West was doing. They had no, scruples on that. And one fine day, out comes Xi Jinping and he says, I'm going to establish a Sino-centric world order. It is then that the West woke up and said, look, we're stuck. Okay. You look at it the other way around. The West has always been against us. It's only around 2000 that they realized that there is more depth to India's Bharat, whichever way you want to call it, than what was perceived. And they started this strategic partnership with us. And we have the whole strategic partnership is going up. And it has taken only 20 years. It's not a thing which is happening like that. It needs time to crystallize out. And what has happened in the past 10 years? They have realized that the bulwark against China is only India. They can't do without India. Okay. And they can't dictate to India. Let me tell you, I know because I've been in the government at the highest levels, right? And I've dealt with the Americans at the highest levels, as much as with the highest levels in the Ministry of Defense and State Department. So they know that there is a limit to which they can talk about India and no more. So, okay. The next thing is, I mean, I'm taking a little time because I think your audience need to understand this. Next thing is, America has allies. Japan is its ally. Australia is its ally. UK is its ally. Germany is its ally. Part of the NATO. We are not part of all that. We are only a strategic partnership. We are not an ally. We don't listen to them fully. We go our way. So we actually have an independent foreign policy, which many of us don't understand. Right? We get drawn in by what New York Times or Washington Post or some ragtag paper from USA talks, and which some of our own, poorly informed journalists pick up and replicate here. But if you look beyond the surface, we have always had our independent foreign policy. And India is strong enough. And this is something which I've earlier also spoken about in P Gurus, when we were discussing the Eastern Ladakh fracas. I said, at that time, if you remember, I said they'll not come back. You used to ask me, will they come back and attack us and this and that and all? I said they'll not come back, and they've not come back. Right? We didn't take America's help. In fact, today America asks us how to tackle China and many issues. So we are following an independent foreign policy, but being strategic partners, there are places where we have to, I would say, give in to what USA says, and they also have to give in to what we do. The S-400 is a case where they have given in to what we do. So don't worry about it. Okay. You please.
Just one-liner, sir. Viewers,
you carry on. I mean, I have no problem. I have no problem of time. One of the things in my channel is I have no time is for people who watch.
So one of the things that I had asked Congressman Ro Khanna, who had come on P Guru's channel, there's only one interview, so you can search for Ro on P Guru's channel, you'll find out. And he was the one who gave the waiver, CATSA sanction waiver. And we talked about it at length. We also talked about many other things. So do watch that video so that you get an idea of how much happens in various spheres here, how everybody is now recognizing the importance of India, and the fact that it can be the bulwark against China. Also, I must mention the episode that I did with General Ravi Shankar about Brahmaputra. To me, it's one of the best episodes that P Gurus ever did. It's a fantastic presentation. What happens, how Brahmaputra flows. So do watch that video also, viewers, in case, because there are a lot of new subscribers, General Ravi Shankar. They may not be aware of how much videos we have done, how many videos we have done in the past. So I do encourage you all to look up that Brahmaputra video. Sir, next question, sir.
Yeah, next question is, okay, in Caoboys' book, it is said Morarji Desai massacred raw agents in Pak. Why did he receive Bharat Ratna since he already received Nishan-e-Pak? How such people be our heroes? Your views, because I have not read this book.
Caoboys' book, Raman does explain about Morarji Desai, but he doesn't say that he had massacred raw agents. This was an inadvertent slip of tongue. What happened was, sir, 𝙒𝙗𝙗𝘄𝑚 used to call up Morarji Desai and ask him for advice. Basically, he was trying to find out what India knew. And in one such conversation, Morarji Desai blurted out that we know all about your nuclear program. That shook him up, and they purged a lot of people who they considered could be informers of RAW. So that set back the RAW program by a few years. However, Desai did realize the value of RAW and a later incident, and then he let things be as they were. In fact, he had an admiration for RAW. So, yes, there was a small slip, but then things improved after that. So there's a little bit of a balanced nuance there. Next one, please.
Yeah, next one. Bobby Jane says, everywhere it is heard China has a sloping economy. Can you estimate how long it will take to touch the turmoil point? Bobby, there's already in turmoil. They are already in turmoil. Okay, let me tell you this. Just go to Gunnershot, watch, the end of the 100-day marathon and demography. See that video on demography. The biggest problem of China is demography. I've explained till 2030, the demography doesn't change drastically in China. 2030 onwards, till about 2035 to 2040, the demographic change in China is huge. And that is when the Chinese economy will start going down, no matter what they do. I mean, it is irretrievable after that. Like I said, Chinese economy, every year they're pumping it up. Sometimes they say it's $17 trillion. Sometimes they say $21 trillion, XYZ. But the Japan Council of Economic Research came out with this finding 2 years back, about a year back, that the Chinese economy will never cross the US economy. Okay, that's a fact. I don't think it will happen. Only because one fundamental thing which many of us fail to realize, economy is of people. Economy is not of buildings. Economy doesn't refer to cows. Economy doesn't refer to spacecraft. Economy is of the people. It is people who make economy. And if that economy doesn't work for the people, or the people are not there to create that economy is fake. Right? China is in that problem. That's why I said I'm doing a 6-part program. I'm going to restart with demography all over again. Tune in. At that point, you can have 6, where I'm going to talk of demography. I'm going to talk of ideology. I'm talking of their economic structure. I'm going to talk of their climate change. Climate change is going to hit China in ways it has already started hitting, and in ways we can't imagine. This is a food insecure nation which is going to go down the chute very fast. Right? I'm going to talk of the military, and one more subject, 6, I'm going to do, and then we can discuss this. Right?
Yes.
I think there are a lot of other questions I don't think we'll be able to take today. Maybe in the next broadcast, we'll take those who have not asked. You have anything else, Sriji? You can talk. Otherwise,
No, sir. It
close
is
the
an
line.
honor and a pleasure to be part of this conversational hangout that we've had together. And I hope that you, as a viewer, has found this enriching. Do send us your comments, and we'll be happy to respond to them and see how best we can make this thing even more enriching for you. Thank you so much, General Ravi Shankar. Thanks for coming together at such a short notice to put together this joint program. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to Gunner Shot. I'm not asking for P Gurus. Gunner Shot. It
Why
requires
not P Gurus also? Yeah.
P
Yeah,
Gurus
what we're
also.
going to
Yes,
do is
yes,
something also. Yeah, I would like to tell you that, look, we're going to do this joint, and I'm going to broadcast through pre-gurus also, because the
yes.
subjects which I will tackle will be unique. Let me assure you it's unique, and I'm going to get the best people. Niranjan Mahapatra has given a comment saying General Shankar sir simply evokes nationalism. Let me clarify. Because if I don't clarify it, you'll not get the right idea. I don't evoke nationalism. I evoke patriotism. There's a difference between a nationalist and a patriot. I'm an army chap. I am a patriot. That's how I look at myself. I will do anything for my country. I will do anything for my people. I will do anything for my flag. And my people can be Hindu, Sikh, Christian, Muslim. They can be forward caste, backward caste. And they can be a tribal, a non-tribal. Okay, it doesn't matter me. And this is my credo. Why am I this credo? I'm from the army. In the army, we are taught to be secular. Today in India, secular is a bad word. But that's what I've lived, secular credentials. I've commanded Sikh troops, I've commanded Hindu troops, I've commanded Christian boys and even Muslim boys and tribals, Northeast, everything. I've been to every corner of India. So I linked myself with India. So if someone comes and says it's only for Hindus, no, I don't agree with it personally. Because the guys who shed blood with me didn't know whether they were Hindus or Christians. Right? And they fought for India. So I cannot dishonor them. I cannot dishonor those people who sacrificed their life for this country. For them, the religion didn't matter. So that's where I come from. Right? And I hope all of you understand my sentiment on this issue. But all the
Sir,
same,
you are
Niranjan,
not
thanks a lot.
alone. Sir, you are not alone, sir. This exact distinction was made by Ro Khanna in that one interview
Yeah.
that I had with him. I've had only one interview thus far. And
Okay.
he made the exact distinction that what you're saying right now. So please do watch that one, guys. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, you must. Yeah, thanks a lot. Good evening and Jai Hind.
Namaskar.